Well, on top of the federal government package yesterday to stimulate the economy, he's asked the states to chip in as well. So joining us is Queensland Premier Annastacia Palaszczuk. She joins us from Sydney. Good morning to you, Premier. Thank you so much for joining us. So the Prime Minister has asked the states to now do their bit to stimulate the economy. So what will Queensland be doing extra?
Yeah, well, absolutely, and I welcome the federal package. Of course, I've been calling for this since the end of January, early February, when we announced our initial package, which was looking at small business, looking at our tourism sector that was hurting. I had all the industry leaders in together and spoke to them, and we put together a package responding to their needs. And of course, we've got our state budget coming up at the end of next month. And of course, we'll be looking very seriously at what further measures we can put in place. But I think there's some very good aspects of the federal government package, the assistance for apprentices, keeping them in work, the cash boost to pensioners, but also too, I think we do also need to address that we have a large casual workforce there, especially in our hospitality and tourism industry. And I think we as a nation also need to make sure that we raise that with the federal government in a little bit more detail.
Might you take up that casual worker issue at a state level yourself? What do you suggest needs to be done there?
Well, that's actually a federal issue because they would be eligible for, my understanding is New Start allowance in the first case. But of course, we'll look at other measures that we can put in place. But look, all the states and territories are working very constructively together with the federal government. We're in this together, and I want to reassure your listeners that every single leader is taking the impact of coronavirus very, very seriously. No one is taking it lightly. We're preparing for this just as we do with our natural disasters. And thankfully, we've got a cyclone off the coast of Queensland at the moment, and thank goodness that's not crossing. But we have put in place all of our measures that we do for dealing with natural disasters in Queensland, and we're ready to deal with this. All of my departments are ready, my ministers are ready, our health system is ready, but of course it's uncharted waters. No one has been down this path before, and of course we're listening to the expert advice, and that's what we should do. And we'll be hearing from the National Chief Health Officer later on today when COAG starts, and I'm looking forward to hearing that discussion and contributing to that discussion.
Premier, $1 billion has been earmarked for tourism, particularly in Queensland. It's fairly broad, though. Do you have the specifics of that? I mean, where precisely is that going?
From the federal government, we haven't had the details yet, but of course the tourism sector is hurting. We launched a big campaign in Queensland about holidaying at home. Don't go overseas, support your tourism industry. So Cairns is feeling the downcline. Of course, the Gold Coast, the Whitsundays, Brisbane will feel the impacts as well. So, you know, we're looking at all of those measures to assist our industry. But we want everyone to do the right thing and holiday at home. And can I say to anyone in the southern states as well, come to Queensland. We've got the best beaches in the world and the rainforests.
The government announced this $1 billion fund, and to be fair to Simon Birmingham and the federal government at the moment, the $1 billion fund, they said, needs to be worked out with the states because you're the ones that directly know, and you especially as Queensland Premier know who is being impacted and what they need. So who is and what do they need?
Yeah, well, of course, we have done some relief for marina fees and charges. The federal government has got more assistance there. But what we know is one of our largest tourism markets is China. And of course, with the ban on, and I support the ban of Chinese tourists not coming into Queensland, that's having a big impact on the economy. And like I said too, we have a lot of casual workers that work in our tourism industry. So they're going to be really feeling it. It's going to have a huge impact on families. Let's not underestimate this. Families are really going to feel this. They've got to pay their bills, they've got to keep their kids in schools, they've got to put food on the table. This is going to be a massive impact. So look, I'm looking forward to having further discussions. My tourism minister is right across this as well. And we, of course, meet with the industry on a regular basis. So we'll be meeting with them again.
Premier, I've spoken to some friends who are tourism operators off Cairns and the Great Barrier Reef, driving out the boats on the Barrier Reef. There's no tourists, or tourists have dropped off dramatically. So what would you suggest some of this money, should it be used to offset some wage losses? And in particular, what kind of business losses or redundancies are you expecting?
Well, I think what you find in the tourism industry is that there, like I said to you, there's a lot of the casual workforce. But of course, you know, these businesses have overheads that they have to continue to pay. We've already done deferrals on payroll tax. But of course, we'll be speaking to the industry about what further measures we can take. But the best thing we can do is encourage people to holiday at home and to go and support these industries because they employ Queenslanders and they employ Australians, and we want to make sure that we are helping them in their time of need. So I'll be looking very closely at the fine detail. Of course, the stimulus package was only just announced yesterday.
Yes.
We will get our tourism industry leaders back in the room and we will discuss it at length.
You mentioned Newstart before, that people might be able to access that. My understanding is that you can only access Newstart if you've actually lost your job. When it comes to the sickness payment, the Prime Minister actually announced yesterday that they would waive the waiting period. But is your problem that people are being told to stay at home and can't go to work and are not particularly sick, so that payment wouldn't actually kick in?
Yes, we need to see the fine detail of this, but there is a lot of concern at the moment about casual workers. So we do need people, if they are sick, to stay at home. There should be absolutely no incentive for the person to go to work if they're sick because they could be contagious and spread the virus. My understanding is from speaking with the Prime Minister that they would waive that waiting period. It would only be 5 days. But I think it is looking at how much the person has in their bank accounts as well. So look, I really need to see the finer details before I comment further on that. But it is a big issue. I know it's one that the unions have been raising. It's one that's been raised with me personally as well. The last thing we want to see is casual workers going to work sick. That is the worst thing we want to see. So we need to be flexible, we need to be agile, we need to make sure that we are looking after people.
Premier, have you spoken to Tom Hanks?
No, I haven't. I've spoken with Baz and I couldn't believe it yesterday when I heard the news. But can I just reassure everyone that Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson, they will be getting the best care in one of our world-class hospitals in Queensland. And the hospital that he's at, we've had one of the best medical experts there. He has treated people there previously. We had a group of Chinese tourists who had came up from Melbourne to Brisbane to the Gold Coast, and they were treated successfully. So just as anybody else in Queensland would get the best care, they will get the best care as well. And Baz has said that from behalf of his production crew that he wants everyone to do the right thing. So anyone who has been in close proximity with Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson, they are self-isolating at the moment. They are following all of the protocols, and it is really important that everybody across the nation follows the expert advice. And if you are told to isolate, you must stay in your home or your unit. It does not mean going down to the shop and buying some milk or going to the petrol station and filling up. It means isolating, and we need everyone to comply.
Annastacia Palaszczuk, appreciate your time. We'll see you at COAG.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.